It's less than 3 weeks now until the general recall election between Governor Scott Walker and his Democratic challenger, Tom Barrett.
In a race once dubbed too close to call, we have new poll numbers to report this afternoon. They come from Marquette University. And the man conducting the poll, Charles Franklin, joining us once again. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
A little shift in the numbers from the previous poll.
Yeah. On the governor's race, we've seen an increase in Governor Walker's lead from a 1-point lead to a 6-point lead since the primary. So that's an important shift. And on the presidential numbers, we've seen it move to a tie. And on the lieutenant governor's race, we still see a 6-point margin, just like we see for the governor's race with Rebecca Clayfish leading.
Tell us a little bit about the process of your poll.
Yeah.
Who did you talk to and how many people were polled?
We interviewed 704 registered voters in the state by telephone. We include both landlines and cell phones. Cell phones make up 29% of the state these days, so it's important to include them, and we do. And the way you do that is you generate a number at random. A computer literally creates random numbers, and that allows every working number in the state to have an equal chance of being selected into the poll. And that's really the way all telephone polls work, is by giving every number an equal chance of being selected. You let the laws of probability take over from there to give you a sample which will be representative of the entire population within a margin of error. So our margin of error is about 4%.
Undecided voters, very small number this time around. What, 3%?
Inside the margin of error, as some say. Yeah, 3% in this sample of likely voters. There are 600 likely voters in our sample. Those are the people who are absolutely sure they'll go to the polls on Election Day. That 3% is a little lower. We've seen 4 and 5, but we've not seen since January large numbers of undecideds. Now we're down to an even smaller number. It certainly points out why turnout could matter more than persuading voters at this point. We know that there are some differences in turnout right now. Republicans seem to have an advantage. About 91% of Republicans say they're certain to vote. 83% of Democrats and independents. So if Democrats and independents move up and get mobilized and gotten to the polls, that will help them. If this gap remains or expands, that will help the Republicans. So turnout is a really big part of that. What's more, something like about almost 90% of Republicans say they'll vote for Walker. About the same percentage of Democrats say they'll vote for Barrett. So if either party mobilizes those voters, they're pretty sure of getting those votes. With the independents, or the undecideds, even though there's so few of them, if you move them to the polls, maybe it's not nearly as certain which way they'll vote. So turnout, turnout, turnout.
And it's expected to be huge. That's what everybody's saying.
It certainly looks like it. We certainly saw very high turnout in both parties in the primary. That was a tribute to both parties' ability to get out the vote and the engagement of voters. At this point, I expect that we will pass what the 2010 vote was, and the real question is simply how much bigger than the 2010 vote.
An interesting couple of weeks coming up. You have one more poll coming up before the election?
That's right.
We'll check in with you then.
Okay.
Thanks, Charles.
Thanks, Charles. Good to see you.